Hello and welcome to r/Idontworkherelady, stories about folks that go into other businesses and have irate customers mistake them for employees. Our first story comes from user alxwak. This happened in the early 2000s, either '02 or '03. A small background is needed. At that point in my life, I'm a third-year nurse student in the capital. I'm sharing my apartment with a good friend, and he is sharing his car. The alleged car was the major factor of the story. It was of brand cherished by taxi drivers and also yellow, the colour of taxis in the capital. The major differences from a taxi were the lack of taxi sign and the fact that it was a hatchback. Taxis are sedans. It was common for someone to flag us down, thinking it was a taxi, until we came closer. Anyway, it was summer and my friend was island hopping with his fiancée and had left the car behind. I had woken up to an almost empty fridge, and since I was paid the day before, I decided to forgo the small convenience store in my neighbourhood and drive to the big supermarket. I jumped in the car and took a major road artery to the store. I'm stopped in front of a bus stop, waiting for the light to turn green, when the back door opens and closes and I hear a woman's voice say the name of a hospital. I turn around to say it's not a taxi, but I stopped in my tracks. A sweet old lady had entered the car. She was around 65 to 70. She is clutching her purse so hard, her knuckles turning white. She is clearly panicked. She keeps mumbling, "Please hurry, she went into labour, please hurry." I put the car into gear and starts driving towards the hospital. Nurse training kicks in and I start to talk to her to calm her down. She starts to calm and I get the whole story. Her granddaughter, 19 at the time, was pregnant and had a rough pregnancy. An hour ago went into premature labour and the grandma was panicking. We reached the hospital 20 minutes later. The guard at the entrance knows me because of hospital rotation. I drive up to the entrance and drop her. As she is trying to pay me, I tell her it's on the house. At that point she realised it wasn't a taxi and got a bit embarrassed and tried to give me the money again. I advised that if everything went well, send me a cake. Little did I know. 2 weeks later, my roommate is back and receives a call from the police. They wanted to find out if he was the owner of the car and if he could go to the station. My roommate asked me if anything had happened with the car while he was gone. I said no, having almost forgotten the incident. I decided to tag along and go to the station. We are met by an officer who guides us into an office. Inside is the sweet old lady with a box. She jumps up shouting, "That's him!" and hugs me. The officer is smiling. He is the father of the granddaughter, and now proud grandfather. Apparently the lady told him about the incident and how helpful I was. He used his status as a police officer to get the plate from the CCTV and find the owner and thank me. The baby girl would have to spend some time in the hospital due to being almost 2 months early, but otherwise alright, so I got the cake. On a final note, I met the girl by coincidence a couple of years ago. She has turned out fine and studying to be a nurse. Our next story is about a crazy Karen and how she somehow mistook a 14-year-old for a bartender. From user LitCandle87. OP, me. Karen, K. My dad, D. My dad used to own an ice rink where we lived. The ice rink had a bar and a pretty big lobby that was really long. Think about 30 feet, or 10 metres. I liked to go behind the bar and was allowed to, since my dad owned the rink. And I would get lemonade and occasionally get some for my friends too, without charging them. One day I was behind the bar just getting some lemonade, like I normally did. While my back was turned to the bar, I heard somebody sort of clearing their throat, as if to get my attention. I didn't pay any mind to it, assuming they were trying to get the actual bartender, Mary's, attention. After I finished filling up my lemonade, I turned around and saw this lady. She looked unhappy, and I immediately got nervous. I have social anxiety and I tend to clam up around adults I don't know, especially when I was younger. Then this exchange happened. Karen said, "Excuse me, but I've been trying to order drinks and you've been ignoring me." I said, "Ma'am, I didn't know you were talking to me. I don't work here. I'm only behind the bar because..." Karen cut me off. "I need 2 lemonades, a Sprite, a Budweiser, and a Coors Light." I said, "Ma'am, for the last time, I don't work here. I'm 14. Please go see the actual bartender, Mary, and order your drinks." Karen started to get mad and responded, "Then why are you behind the bar? Are you trying to steal drinks?" I said, "No, ma'am. I've been trying to tell you. My dad..." Karen started screeching, "Get me whoever's in charge right now. You are behaving absolutely unacceptably and not getting me my drinks." At this point, I was on the verge of tears. Fortunately, my dad happened to be in his little office near the bar, which was more like a booth, and I could go get him. I told him what had happened in a few brief words, and he actually knew who I was talking about. Apparently he had kicked out the same lady a few weeks ago for abusing Mary. My dad stood up and walked over to this woman. He's about 6.5 feet tall and weighs 210 pounds, so he was pretty intimidating. This lady couldn't have been more than 5'2" and maybe 130 pounds. So when my dad walked over to this lady, you could see a little bit of apprehension on the lady's face. She was trying to maintain her bluster, but I could also tell she didn't want to be anywhere near my dad. My dad said, "Hello, is there a problem?" Karen responds, "Yes, are you the manager here? This bartender is absolutely awful and refusing to serve me drinks." My dad responds, "Ma'am, I'm the owner of this building, and that's my daughter. She's 14 and not a bartender." There happened to be a framed newspaper with my dad on the front cover for buying their ice rink right where we were standing, which Karen saw. The colour immediately drained out of her face, but for whatever reason, she still decided to throw a fit. Karen said, "Well, she should have still served me drinks. I didn't know she was 14. Karen says something really stupid here. "You should give me free skating passes for my trouble." How Karen didn't know I wasn't a bartender is a mystery to me. I was a little bit tall for my age, around 5'6", but the oldest you could have mistaken me for was maybe 16. I had freaking braces, for crying out loud. My dad was getting pretty angry right now, and he was tired of dealing with this lady. He said, "Actually, aren't you the lady who got thrown out a few weeks ago for being rude to the actual bartender? Because you have been abusing the staff here. You need to leave now, and you are banned from the building as well." Karen responds, "But I didn't know. You can't ban me. You have no right." My dad responds, "Actually, I do. Now get out before I either have to remove you myself or leave before I call the police to file a report for harassment." At this point, Karen realised he wasn't actually kidding, and thankfully left. My dad made sure I was okay, and I got some more lemonade. Our next story comes from RudyBoy16, and is all about letting go. Yesterday, me and my older brother went to a shopping mall where this incident took place. Cast: me equals me. Older brother equals Big B. Entitled girl equals EG. So we went to this place for some shopping. We don't usually go into this place, but since there were a few discounts on a few items we needed, Big B decided to check the place out. We went into the shop, and as soon as you step in, there's a greeter who welcomes you and asks if you need a trolley or a basket if we end up purchasing a lot of items. Big B said we need a trolley, so we took one and started getting to the aisle we needed to go to. I'm following Big B, and there's an old lady and two other middle-aged ladies straight ahead. The old lady asked if she can borrow our trolley. No big deal. Big B passes our trolley to her and asks me to get another, while one of the two middle-aged ladies asks if they can have one too. Okay, no problem. I took 2 trolleys and gave one to the ladies. Big B and I were ready to go, but we saw a guy that he knew. So Big B gave me the list and told me to scout the area. He used to be in the military, so scout first, and that he would catch up in a minute. I agreed and started looking for the items, and as soon as I thought I was getting close to the right aisle, EG appears. She's probably in her 20s and has the attitude of a rich kid. She grabbed my trolley and started yanking on it. I was caught off guard and pulled my trolley away from her. Here's our conversation. I said, "Excuse me?" EG says, "Give me that and bring one more." I said, "What?" EG says, "Give me that trolley and bring me one more trolley." I said, "Go get your own. This is my trolley." EG says, "Are you out of your mind? We have a problem. Give me that trolley and get me one more." She kept yanking on the trolley. By the way, I'm not a big guy. 5'11", about 155 pounds. She looks about 5'1" or 5'2", maybe 85 pounds. She's using all her weight and muscles to try and pull the trolley back. That was a good forearm exercise for me. At this point, I'm thinking, what in the world is she thinking? We're in a shopping mall and she's asking for 2 trolleys because she has a problem? What's the problem? Maybe somebody got hurt and she's trying to put them in the trolley so she can get them to the hospital? I said, "Get your own, I'm not your servant." EG says, "Give me that." By this time, Big B is done talking with his friend and is coming towards me. He made a gesture that said, "What's going on?" And I gestured back, "I don't know." But right there, I got my answer. EG said, "You work here, get another trolley for me." Now I realised she thought I worked here, so I tightened my grip and said, "I don't work here." She loosened her grip, and I thought this might be the end of it, right? Nope. Until this, she has been pulling the trolley facing me. Now she turns around and uses all her strength to pull it while screaming, "Let it go!" This time, Big B has almost reached me. He gestured what looked like, "Just let it go." So I did. All the force she had been using made her fly forward and crash. A few shop employees rushed to her. Big B looked surprised and said, "What the F, dude?" I didn't notice until I heard the crash. Big B says, "Maybe we should take baskets." I nodded and left that place until I noticed what actually made the chaos. The employees were dressed in pretty similar clothes to what I was wearing, so it must have been confusing. But still, she should have asked if I could bring her trolleys instead of yanking and screaming. I think this corona thing has made people more aggressive because people have been living alone for months without socializing. Our final story today comes from user Praveen Shankar 007. And yet again, this is another tale of a crazy Karen. I'm an 18-year-old male, born completely deaf and mute. Also, I'm partially blind in my left eye. I live with my sister, who's 28, who had been taking care of me since her parents died. Recently, she got married and went on her honeymoon, so I'm on my own for a few weeks. This happened yesterday. Usually whenever I go out, I'm accompanied by my sister due to my disability. But now, since she is on her honeymoon, I had to go out alone. There was a new supermarket opened in our area, and I needed some items. So I decided to go there and grab them. My bad for wearing a red-coloured shirt, almost similar to the employees working there. But if you look closely, you could see that it was not the uniform. I was at the electronics section looking for some batteries, when I see an old man struggling to get some DVDs at the top shelf. Since I'm tall, I helped him. He thanked me. I can do lip reading. And he went on his way. Then I began looking for the batteries. That's when I felt someone grab my left wrist. I turned around and a woman in her late 40s slapped me. She was speaking something, but I couldn't follow her lips as she spoke too fast. However, I was able to catch some words like you, ignore, job, etc. So I signed to her that I am deaf. Apparently this was the wrong move because she became more irate towards the signs. Again, she was yelling something, but I couldn't catch anything. So I took my notebook and started writing that I am deaf and mute. Before I could finish, she grabbed my notebook and pen and threw them away. Then she slapped me again and pushed me to the ground. Luckily, by this time, a store employee came to see what the commotion was about. He saw me on the ground and helped me up. Then he asked what happened. Before I can sign to him, Karen starts to yell at the employee. I don't know what she said, as she was not facing me. After she finished, I signed to the employee that I could not hear her speak. Fortunately, he understood and explained this to the lady. But she is still not convinced. She tries to assault me again. But I moved away. Then I wrote and showed the employee to call the cops on her. The employee nodded and called the cops. Karen tried to run away, but the security caught her. The police arrived in about 10 minutes. They first talked to the employee who explained the situation about how Karen assaulted me because she mistook me for a store employee. One police officer comes and speaks to me. I understood that he wanted my version of events, so I wrote everything down and showed it to the officer. Then they went to check the CCTV footage, then came back and asked me if I wanted to press charges. I gladly said yes. Karen was then placed in handcuffs and given a free ride at the back of a police cruiser. The manager then explained to me that Karen thought I worked in the store and she became angry that I ignored her. She had been standing on my left side, so obviously I couldn't see her. The store manager then offered me a 50% discount on the products. I texted my sister about the events that happened, and she was livid. Oh, did I mention my sister is a lawyer? She told me that she herself will be handling the case, and would see to it that Karen would get maximum time. Court date is in around 40 days. I will update about it after court. And that was r/Idontworkherelady. Make sure to leave a like on this video, it helps me out a lot. And also be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that little notification bell, that way you never miss any of my future uploads.